Welcome to Install from Heap, Episode 2, a Netrunner podcast from Rattlebox Games about jank, deck building, and cyberpunk nonsense. I'm Brendan Riley. In the past, I've always gravitated toward theme over substance. When I played Vampire: The Eternal Struggle, a collectible card game also created by Netrunner creator Richard Garfield, I liked decks with theme. Sometimes these were strategic, using decks relating to one particular skill or combination of skills. And sometimes these were stupid, using only 2-point vampires or almost exclusively 10-point vampires, and so on. When I started getting into Netrunner, I learned the hoary old term for this kind of silliness: jank. Today we're going to be talking about all things jank, exploring what I think that term means and how it shapes my deck building and subsequent terrible play. Hold on to your butts. Slow Sunny versus Nexus Kate. One of my proudest moments is when I took the advice of somebody on Netrunner DB and experimented with Power Tap in my Sunny LeBeau deck. That was when I figured out that Power Tap could be a major money engine for Sunny LeBeau. Sunny LeBeau is an individual runner, a solitary person operating outside of any faction, with her own breakers, her own hardware, and mouths to feed. You can find Sunny LeBeau and the main cards for her faction in the Honor and Profit Deluxe expansion to Netrunner. In the narrative, Sunny works security for one of the corps, Wayland I think. Then she comes home, tucks the kids into bed, and jacks in as a badass runner. She is my favorite.
Sunny, yesterday my life was filled with rain. Sunny, you smiled and you released the pain. Now the dark days are done and the bright days are here. My sunny one shines so sincere. Sunny one so true, I love you.
The key to using Sunny is her link. She starts with 2-link, which gives her immediate access to cloud breakers for 0 memory units, to underworld contact, and to her own security chip, which makes her breakers uber powerful. Most important is her console, a beast at 8 credits to install, but a cool trick if you can get it to work. It allows you to bypass a piece of ice by forcing the corp to do a trace. I'd argue there's no stronger rig once it's set up, but it's creakingly slow and expensive. That's where Power Tap comes in. Power Tap is a criminal card that gets you 1 credit each time a trace is installed. If you can get enough link to be ahead of the Trace 5 attached to the security nexus, suddenly you not only bypass ice, but you also get money when you try to do so. And the money comes when the trace is initiated, so you can use it to boost if the corp is trying to win the trace. So I love Sunny. And here's where jank becomes my Achilles heel. The meta, the people writing about Netrunner, seem to think that Kate is better. Basically, you just take the security nexus and give it to Kate. She gets the rabbit holes for free instead of using influence, and Shaper has many tools that swap out for Sunny's rig. You don't have enough influence for the power taps, but you don't need them, and you save a credit every time you install stuff because of Kate's native ability. So while she's slow too, the accepted wisdom about how to win with this console points to Kate rather than Sunny. One part of the Sunny deck that the Kate deck generally doesn't use is access to GlobalSec, a great resource card that allows you to peek at the top card of R&D by sacrificing one of your clicks before your turn starts. This is really powerful because you can put R&D on lockdown without actually having to spend any credits each turn. And then when you do find an agenda there, that's when you can run, and you can use your security chip and all of your great icebreakers. So what's a working mom supposed to do? Let me know. In the meantime, check out my Sunny deck, the Sunshine Law, on Netrunner DB, where my username is, as usual, Wombat929. Executive Bootcamp. As part of growing from an itchy 1 into an itchy 2, I'm taking time in each podcast to reflect on a different basic Netrunner lesson I've learned in the last few months. This episode's concept is one I'm still wrestling with, the deck limit. Ask any good Netrunner player and they will tell you that you should build the deck to minimum size. If your minimum is 45 and you put 46 cards in there, you're a fool. Brendan, you fool. But all I want is the fun cards. I don't want to know how much this hurts my chance of actually using them.
The possibility of successfully navigating an asteroid field is approximately 3,720 to 1.
Never tell me the odds.
It's like having a buffet of options and not being able to choose.
This phone is cursed. Cursed, I tell you. I try to ignore it, but it just never stops ringing. It's ruining my life!
Every card you put in makes the other cards less likely to be drawn. There might be an argument to be made that a corp should put cards in up to the highest number before the agenda count bumps up, 49 instead of 45, but I suspect most players would scoff at that idea. As a jank player who thinks more about fun than strategy, sticking to the deck limit is hard. Usually it's the fun cards you have to discard when you pare your list down to the minimum. Your economy cards are a must, so that extra unregistered Smith & Wesson has to go. But I'm slowly coming around. If I want to play jank regularly, great. But if I don't compress my decks down to the minimum size, then I'm dooming myself to never getting that janky combo I want, and to lose more games in the meantime. Every additional borrowed satellite or professional contacts in the deck is one less chance of getting those 3 power taps and the security nexus. For the jank player, this really means picking the one janky thing you want to make happen. Pick the one combo that means the most to you and build your deck around that. Because while jank is fun, a deck that always loses isn't nearly so much. Flavor of the Week. And now I continue my homage to the Stim Hack column, Running on Italics, by taking a moment to look at one card I talked about today in the context of its flavor and theme. This week, Power Tap. Power Tap is a criminal resource that costs 2 to play and is 1 influence. It reads, gain 1 credit whenever a trace is initiated. The flavor text says, public network kiosks, vending machines. There's all sorts of poorly secured power sources in the city. Tap into one of these and you've got plenty of juice when you need it. A little advance warning when the power grid starts misbehaving, too. Gabriel Santiago. The art on the card shows stalwart criminal runner Gabriel Santiago literally tying a power line into a terminal of some sort. If credits represent power and influence in the game, then the idea that you gain from the corp trying to find you ties well to this card. I imagine that each power tap represents an unauthorized access to a centralized and important network.
See, they use video feeds from intersections and specifically designed algorithms to predict traffic conditions and thereby control traffic lights. So all I did was come up with my own kick-ass algorithm to sneak in, and now we own the place.
You want to do a dry run?
I thought you'd never ask. See red light, green light.
I think the literal idea of the runner physically siphoning electricity works too. As the corp tries to find the runner, perhaps they rattle the power grid a bit, as Santiago implies, and someone with an independent power source would benefit and be more likely to slip away. As is the case if you get the credits at the beginning of the trace before you have to spend any money to elude it. The art is a little straightforward, but otherwise this fits the theme really well for me. A-. Well, that's it for Install from Heap Episode 2. If you have suggestions for future topics or comments on the show, I'd love to hear them. You can send email to brendan@rattleboxgames.com or tweet to Rattlebox Games. You can also visit our website, rattleboxgames.com, to subscribe to our newsletter or follow the link to our forums on BoardGameGeek.com, where my username is Wombat929. I'd always enjoy losing a game of Netrunner to you on Genteki.net, where my username is also Wombat929. See you next time, but until then, remember, all your best cards end up in the trash. You can always install from Heap. Today's media clips were from How I Met Your Mother, the episode titled Rabbit or Duck, from The Italian Job, and the Bye Byeman song, Sunny. Install from Heap is produced by Rattlebox Games. Consult our website for more details. See you next time.
Brought to you by Rattlebox Games.